Hello students, welcome to the class. Today we'll start with a very important unit of organic chemistry. It is unit 14 as per the NCERT syllabus, and the unit is biomolecules. So it is having a weightage of 6 marks with 7 hours of teaching. Six marks coming for the final exam as per the PU blueprint pattern. There will be one mark question asked from the unit, and there will be one 5-mark question will be considered for the unit. In the organic chemistry branch, we have 3 units which are with 1 mark weightage. That is, one with haloalkanes and haloarenes. Another one is aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acid unit. And the third one, it is the unit 14, biomolecules. Already we completed so haloalkanes and haloarenes in our previous classes. Now we'll go with one more 1 mark weightage unit, biomolecules. Apart from the syllabus point of view, so if we understand a particular topic, so which is studied under a very important interdiscipline of chemistry, so which is biochemistry. We are going to learn a branch called biochemistry and chemistry, so which deals about all the aspects what we are going to deal in this unit. So just to give the significance of that, so we are having the unit of biomolecules in our syllabus. So just we'll focus on what is the branch biochemistry and what it deals with, and why there is a need of learning biomolecules, so with respect to the subject chemistry. Now you can recall, if you take any living system, so we all need a matter as well as energy, either in one form or in another form, so for our growth and maintenance. So not only us, if we take any living system, so if we take that, so they all need the matter as well as the energy. That means in simple terms, they need fuel for the energy to lead a particular biochemical pathways to take place. So hence, this branch is finding a very important interdiscipline related to the living system and the chemistry aspects. Now, if we learn the simple definition of the branch, so what exactly the biochemistry, then we'll relate in simple view how we can relate the significance of this particular branch to our biomolecules. Now, if you consider, so biochemistry is defined as the branch of the science that deals with the study of chemical composition and the structure of living organisms, and also various chemical changes takes place within them. So simple concept, so try to understand it clearly. So biochemistry so can be defined as, so it is the branch of science and what it deals with is the main important thing. So that deals with the study of the chemical composition we're going to learn about the study of chemical composition and the structure of living organisms, and also the various chemical changes which are taking place in us. Now this is in simple. So what is the branch biochemistry deals with? So which is having a very wide applications to understand the linking of the concepts from the living system to the chemical aspects, as well as chemical aspects to the living system. So without understanding this branch, so it is not possible for the life to sustain. So that is when we have our diagnosed with any diseased condition. So how our biochemical pathways work, if we don't know that, a proper medicine would not be considered for the respective cause. Hence, each and every aspect for our normal maintenance of the living system as well as for the recovery to the normal state if we under diseased condition. All these particular things so is based on the knowledge of biomolecules, what we are going to learn as the basic things from the branch biochemistry. So hence I have mentioned the biochemistry here. So we'll consider it again. So biochemistry is the branch of science that deals with the study of chemical composition and the structure of living organisms. So with related to the chemical composition, we are going to learn the living organism structure, as well as we are going to learn the chemical changes taking place within them. So chemical changes, so in simple terms to understand, so it is a metabolism what we are going to see within us. It is how a simple molecule so will form a complex biomolecule, or a complex biomolecule how it will form a simple molecule. So it is through the catabolism and the anabolism. So for the normal maintenance of the living system. So hope all these terms, so you know very well, so from your biology, so what you have learned from class 11 itself in the subject biology. Just you can recollect the information which will be most useful here to relate the understanding. So hence, we are going to learn about the biomolecules in the branch biochemistry. Now to understand what is a biomolecule, just observe the word. So it is bio refers to living. So we are going to understand so about the molecules present in the living system. So we know how a molecule is formed. So how it is interrelated from our elemental concepts. If we understand the exact information of what is a biomolecule is, so the molecules so which build up the living organisms and also required for their growth and maintenance are in simple terms are called as biomolecules. So if we take the definition of a biomolecule, so from the name we can relate, so the molecules which are present in the living system are called as biomolecules. So which is in simple with the name meaning. So if we define what is a biomolecule, so these are the molecules. So these are the molecules, so which build up living organisms along with building the living organisms. So the main role of these substances is that so they are required for the growth and the maintenance. Now this is in simple how we can understand the definition of a biomolecules. Biomolecules are the molecules which build up the living organisms and they are responsible for the growth and maintenance of the living organisms. So such a very important role is related to the biomolecules. Now, just to understand the significance of the biomolecule with the living system, so just you can focus on this flow chart. So if we take any living organism, just an overview to how we can relate to the biomolecule. So all living organisms, so they made up of organs. Again, in organs, we are going to see the tissues. And in the tissues, we are going to see the fundamental unit, so which are called as cells. So in the cell, within the cells, we are going to see the organelles, the various cell organelles, and what all these organelles made up of. So there relies our important class of molecules, so which is biomolecules as a major macromolecules to learn. So that examples easily you can relate such macromolecules as the organic molecules, so which are present in the living system, so considered as biomolecules, or just to understand the basic things. So just you can recall all these informations. It is to add weightage for learning the subject. So questions based on this will not be asked. So the introduction is to give the weightage for the subject here. Just recall your fundamental concepts. So the major macromolecules you can consider, it is carbohydrates, proteins, nucleic acids. So in the proteins, you know the important biocatalysts. So the major enzyme information also you can relate here. So we have in the syllabus of biomolecules to learn about it. We learn that. Then strictly speaking, lipids are not macromolecules, but due to their association to get in the macromolecular mass range, they are also considered as macromolecules because of their association. So these are the important ones. So what we are going to consider under macromolecular discussion, we'll learn that in detail. So in the syllabus, we have carbohydrates, the building blocks of proteins, amino acids, then about proteins in detail, and we have nucleic acids. So lipids we do not have in the syllabus, so will be helpful with competitive exam point of view. So you can extend the information about the lipids to learn. Then we have simple micronutrients to understand. We have vitamins and we have biochemical messengers. So that is hormones. So we have in the unit, so along with carbohydrates, proteins, nucleic acids, we have vitamins and hormones to learn. So this is with respect to syllabus point of view, what we need to learn. So if you relate with the biomolecule concept, so from this flowchart, you can understand what is the role of biomolecule. Along with this, so you can recall one more fundamental information. Everyone knows that the most important characteristic of the cell is the ability to grow and divide. to produce the cells, that is the daughter cells. Now, if we analyze such a particular cell as well as with respect to the components present in them, so with elemental knowledge, if you take a cell, in general, a living cell contains about 50 elements. There are 50 different elements we are going to see in a living cell. A living cell is made up of 50 elements. So the 11 most abundant elements we need to understand. So which will give the significance for the competitive exam to relate the questions based on that. The 11 most abundant, everyone knows this. So just you can relate under the heading here. The 11 most abundant elements are, it is oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, chlorine, sodium, and magnesium. So these are the 11 most abundant, that is very important abundant elements among the 50 elements of a living cell. Now again in this, so the first 4 elements, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, so which constitutes nearly 96% of the man's total mass. So if we take a healthy human being, the man's total mass, if you analyze, so from the total mass, nearly 96% of his mass is due to these 4 elements, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. We can easily think, so 70% of the human body is made up of water, where the constituent elements in water, building a molecule of water, is hydrogen and oxygen. So there itself 70% of the weight you can relate. So this will give a basic view. So what is the need of learning the biomolecules? So with respect to understanding of a living system. So chemically we'll look into the subject. So we'll focus on these biomolecules, carbohydrates, proteins, nucleic acids, vitamins, and hormones in our discussion. Hope this brief introduction is helpful for you to recall the concepts. So understand from the biology aspects. So what you can learn is to interrelate the biochemistry branch and learn what is a biomolecule. Then we'll relate the important macromolecules, that is carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acid. And we learn few micronutrients as vitamins, and as a biochemical messengers, hormones, as per the NCERT syllabus. This unit is a structural unit. That means, so you need to focus on learning the names of these compounds, as well as you need to focus structural aspect and the reaction aspect. So with this basic introduction information, now we'll move on to our first class of the biomolecule. We are starting with the carbohydrates. So we'll learn that. So we'll start with the first biomolecule, carbohydrates. All of you know the carbohydrate. So already you have familiarized with the names of that. So for example, glucose, fructose, lactose, all these molecules you have heard. So now we'll try to refine that idea to understand the carbohydrates in a systematic way. So how these biomolecules are related. Now, if you look into the word carbohydrate, so generally carbohydrates are primarily produced from the plants. So majorly produced from plants. But how exactly it is related, now we'll understand with a basic view. So if you look into the word carbohydrate, so hydrates of carbon. It is majority of the carbohydrates, if you analyze, majority of the carbohydrates, not all, majority. So maximum carbohydrates, if you take, so they are having the general formula. So we'll just observe that. So majority of the carbohydrates, as they are obeying the general formula CxH2O so that is, so in the hydrated form, so they are bonded to carbon. So the word carbohydrate is derived, but it is not actually true in all the case. It is not seen as in the form of directly bonded H2O to the carbon. It's much more complicated in its elemental study that we'll try to understand. So the origin, how the name carbohydrate is derived, so can relate this information as they are found as hydrates of carbon. So from this, the name carbohydrate is taken. So carbohydrates are also referred to as saccharides. And in the classification, you are going to learn this. So majority of the classification names, so it ends with saccharides. Now, why the carbohydrates are called as saccharides if we observe? So it is derived from the Greek word. It is derived from the Greek word. It is saccharon. So in Greek, the saccharon means sugar. As majority of the carbohydrates are sweet in taste, so hence the Greeks have given the name saccharide for carbohydrates. So from that, the carbohydrate saccharides is taken. So it is based on its sweetness. As majority of the carbohydrates are sweet in taste. There are carbohydrates which are not sweet in taste also. So that we'll try to learn now in the classification. Now, if we relate the exact definition of carbohydrate, the modern definition, so these are optically active compounds. So we know what is optically active compounds. So with respect to chiral carbon nature, we learned in the haloalkanes in the stereochemical aspects. You can recall that. So carbohydrates can be defined as so optically active compounds. Polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. That means as though they are optically active compound. So with the functional group, so the definition is taken as a modern definition for carbohydrates. So these can be defined as the optically active polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones, or the compounds which produce such units on hydrolysis. So just understand it very clearly. So from the modern definition, the carbohydrates can be defined as, so they are optically active. Polyhydroxy refers to many hydroxyl group containing aldehydes or ketones. Both will not be seen. Either they may contain aldehyde as a functional group or ketone as a functional group. Hence, aldehyde and ketones are the functional groups present in carbohydrates. So these functional groups, so along with the side chain carbon, so we are going to see with the optically active nature, so which do not have plane of symmetry or which are having non-superimposable mirror images, such optically active compounds of aldehydes and ketones with polyhydroxy groups, or the compounds which produces such units on hydrolysis, or that indicates that if you subject that compound to the hydrolysis, you will get such units. That means polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketone units you are going to get if you subject that particular biomolecule to the hydrolysis. Hydrolysis refers to addition of water. So with water, the lysis of the compound is resulted. So hence, so with this basic definition, so as a modern definition, carbohydrates are considered. The first information, so how the name carbohydrate is taken. So as majority of the carbohydrates, so in the beginning of the discovery of the compounds, so they seems to be as hydrates of carbon, the word carbohydrate is given, but actually they are not having water as such. So they are obeying a general formula of, so it is CXHY OZ in general. So it is represented with one more important formula, just to indicate. So instead of writing XYZ, so you can relate with the above general formula only. In majority of the carbohydrates, X and Y value remain same, whereas in the other cases, so X and Y may not be same. So hence, so the common formula, so in general, earlier it was indicated as CnH2n, ON, but it was not considered now. So because majority of them, so they are not having this as same. Hence, with the modern information, the general formula can be taken as the same CXH2O-Y. So this can be remembered as the general formula for all the carbohydrates. So in some cases, X and Y will be same, and in other cases, X and Y will be different. Earlier, the general formula used was CnH2n ON. So now we can remember with CXH2O-Y. Now this is in simple. So what are carbohydrates is? Now we'll try to understand the basic classification of the carbohydrates. So we'll try to understand the classification of carbohydrates, which is a very important topic. You may get 1 or 2 more questions. So in the classification aspect. Now we'll just understand the basic classification, and in detail classification will continue. Now if you take the carbohydrates, so we'll discuss the major classification first. In detail classification will take in the next information. Now if you take the carbohydrates, so they are broadly classified into 2 main types. So they are sugars and non-sugars. Carbohydrates are broadly classified into 2 types. They are sugars and non-sugars. So sugars, as the name indicates, they are sweet in taste. And they are soluble in water. Whereas if you consider non-sugars, so they are not sweet in taste, and they are insoluble in water. Just to give the basic differences under the classification I have shown. In detail, we are taking with the next now. So it is, so all the sugars are sweet in taste. As they are sweet in taste, so they are under sugars. So those which are not sweet in taste, they are called as non-sugars. Sugars are soluble in water, whereas non-sugars are insoluble in water. The examples to consider, so monosaccharides and oligosaccharides are considered as sugars. The examples of monosaccharide, the most abundant monosaccharide carbohydrate, which is glucose, fructose, sucrose, etc. Any mono or oligosaccharides you can give it under the example. For example, the grape sugar present in grapes, it is glucose. The sugar present in fruits is fructose, fruit sugar. The sugar present in milk, it is lactose, which is milk sugar. So the sugar present in malt-based foods, it is maltose. The sugar present in the cane, that is sugar cane, so it is sucrose, or it is also called as invert sugar. Like this, there are many important mono and oligosaccharides. All those you can give it under the sugars. Then any polysaccharides, the reserved homopolysaccharide present in plants, it is starch you can take. The reserved homopolysaccharide present in animals, that is glycogen. The structural component of the cell wall of the plant cells, so it is cellulose. Any of these can be taken, that is any homo or heteropolysaccharides can be considered as non-sugars. So we'll learn them individually in detailed classification. This is the basic classification of carbohydrates. It is sugars and non-sugars. Sugars are sweet in taste, soluble in water, whereas non-sugars are not sweet in taste and they remain insoluble in water. Any one or two simple examples you can understand. So by completing the classification study, you can able to relate the examples more precisely. And you have many classification of carbohydrates. Will focus on the important classification as per the NCERT syllabus. Now we'll observe that a very simple classification, how to remember about the carbohydrates. If we take the carbohydrates, already we discussed, so they are broadly classified based on their taste and solubility into sugars and non-sugars. Sugars and non-sugars. So as we know, sugars are sweet in taste and they are soluble in water. So these are sweet in taste as well as they are soluble in water. Just what is its basic information regarding the classification, so I'm writing here. So whereas non-sugars, so they are not sweet in taste and they remain insoluble in water. You're not having this kind of flowchart in the NCERT textbook. So you have about the classification mentioned there, whereas we'll try to learn now. Now, if we take the sugars and non-sugars, so based on the hydrolysis, based on the number of units obtained on hydrolysis, so based on hydrolysis, whatever the number of sugar units obtained from them, so they are classified under, so this heading here. So the second level of classification, the first level is sugars and non-sugars, and at the second level, so we'll classify the carbohydrates based on their hydrolysis products. So if you subject the hydrolysis for a respective carbohydrate, so if it is the simplest form and if you cannot further hydrolyze such a compound, then they are called as monosaccharides. Monosaccharides, as the name indicates, so it is having mono for one or single, saccharide refers to a sugar unit. So this is the simplest class of the carbohydrate which cannot be further hydrolyzed. So hence it is the simplest unit of carbohydrate, so which cannot be further hydrolyzed. So these points and all you try to write in detail by understanding the class. So these cannot be further hydrolyzed. So such a simplest class of the carbohydrate which cannot be further hydrolyzed is called as monosaccharides. And we have oligosaccharides. Oligo refers to few. So once this particular oligosaccharide class of carbohydrate, if you subject it to hydrolysis, so they produces 2 to 10 monosaccharide units. So these are the class of carbohydrates which will produces 2 to 10 monosaccharide units on their hydrolysis. Such a carbohydrates are called as oligosaccharides, refers to few saccharide units, that is 2 to 10. And those carbohydrates which produces many saccharide units on hydrolysis, so they are called as polysaccharides. And all the polysaccharides are coming under non-sugars class. Monosaccharides and oligosaccharides will come under the sugars classification. So this is the second mode of classification to understand. So you interrelate that to the first classification. As well as the next level of classification, what we are going to understand, you need to interrelate to the second level as well as to the first level. So first, sugars and non-sugars based on their taste and solubility in water. Whereas the second, so based on their more respective saccharide units obtained on the hydrolysis. So if it is only one, that means it cannot be further hydrolyzed, then it is called as monosaccharide. If it is hydrolyzed to produce 2 to 10, it is oligosaccharide. If it produces many saccharide units on hydrolysis, so then it is called as polysaccharide. Such monosaccharides so are further classified into based on their number of carbon atoms present in them, as well as based on the functional group present in them. Based on the presence of functional group in them, as well as based on the number of carbon atoms, so they are further classified. If we observe that, so based on the number of carbon atom, the minimum number of carbon atom, so it is 3 carbon atoms. So with 3 carbon atoms, the monosaccharide is called as trioses, refers to those monosaccharides so which are present with 3 carbon atoms. And those carbon atoms which are, that is, those monosaccharides which are present with 4 carbon atoms are called as tetroses. And those monosaccharides so which are with 5 carbon atoms, so they are called as pentoses. OSE is a general suffix you are going to see in these classifications. So trioses, tetroses, pentoses, so easily you can indicate the number of carbon atoms in them. And a very important monosaccharides, so it is with 6 carbon atoms, so which have plenty of monosaccharides in it. So these are called as hexoses. So with 3 carbon atoms triose, 4 with tetrose, 5 with pentose, 6 with hexose. We have with 7 also, which is called as heptoses. So that is beyond the scope of this particular study, so that you can learn under the competitive aspect. So which will not be generally framed as question, which will be higher level concepts. So we'll try to focus with respect to these 4. So with 3 carbon atoms present in them, monosaccharides are called as trioses. With 4 carbon atoms, tetroses. With 5 carbon atoms, pentoses. So with 6 carbon atoms, so they are called as hexoses. We'll give a simple examples for all these types. So the simple example for triose, so you can take the basic compound for synthesis of all the aldehydes. So it is glyceraldehyde we can take. So glyceraldehyde. Tetroses, the sugar present in the erythros, that is erythrocytes, so the respective blood cells. So due to the presence of the sugar erythros, So it is called as erythrocytes. That sugar erythros, blood sugar, is related as tetros, the sugar present in one of the blood cells. Then pentoses, you can relate the sugar present in nucleic acid as example. So you can relate ribose sugar present in RNA, the nucleotides, which are the fundamental units to build the nucleic acids. So you can recall that. So there are the three fundamental concepts present in each nucleotide is a nitrogenous base, a pentose sugar, and a phosphate. The pentose sugar present in RNA is ribose, whereas in DNA it is deoxyribose. So exact chemical name with structural features we'll try to learn. So all these what we are mentioning here, these are the examples for the respective class. Then hexoses, we have many, so we'll try to list few. So the important and the most abundant carbohydrate, it is glucose, is an hexose. Fructose is an example of hexose, fruit sugar. And you can take mannose. This is also the example of the hexose. Like this, there are many. So you can add one more to remember, galactose, etc. Glucose, fructose, mannose, galactose. All these particular compounds, so they are with their general formula of CnH2ON, so you can easily remember. So with 3 carbon atoms, N value as 3, the glyceraldehyde formula I can remember. So it is C3H6O3. For erythros, it is 4 carbon atoms, CnH2O, N value as 4, C4H8O4. For pentoses, it is C5H10O5. For all the hexoses, it is C6H12O6. So we'll learn them individually in detail when we are learning. So we'll try to relate glucose, fructose, and galactose in detail. We have the study about glucose and fructose. We have the structural aspects also. So this is the first classification under number of carbon atoms. So trioses, example glyceraldehyde, or you can take one more ketone also, dihydroxyacetone also you can take the. Tetroses, you can take erythrose as the example. Pentoses, you can take the sugar present in DNA and RNA. It is ribose and deoxyribose. Hexoses, glucose, fructose, mannose, galactose, with the general formula of hexose as C6H12O6 you can remember. So for all these, when you are writing, you can relate the general formula CnH2O n times. So here the N value based on the carbon atoms you can write for the general formula. In all these example cases, so this general formula is obeyed. So where N value is C. So we have the next classification under the monosaccharides, so which is based on the functional group. We have two types of monosaccharides based on the functional group. So those are aldoses and ketoses. As we discussed earlier in the modern definition of carbohydrate, so these are the optically active compounds. So with polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketone. So that we have mentioned earlier in the definition that you can recall here to relate the classification. Now, if the respective monosaccharides, if they contain aldehyde as a functional group, then they are called as aldoses. If they contain ketone as the functional group, then they are called as ketoses. Those monosaccharides which contain aldehyde as a functional group are called as aldoses. Those which contain ketone as a functional group, they are called as ketoses. The best examples we'll try to relate here to remember. One of the simple example to remember, fructose. So which is having ketone as a functional group. So remaining all the hexoses here, so you can relate as aldoses. It is glucose, galactose, or you can relate any pentose here, it is ribose, etc. All these you can relate it as aldoses. So which are with aldehyde as a functional group. So for ketoses, you can relate the fructose, the fruit sugar as the best example. And there is one more special classification relating both. That is relating both the number of carbon atoms and the functional group together. We have one more classification that will try to extend the study. So as it is very difficult to explain here all, so I will take in the next slide to relate these two, as it will be more congested if I write here. So we'll take in the next. So it will be simple. Just I will give the hint about it. So about pentose, if it is a pentose with aldehyde as a functional group, then it is aldopentose. If it is a ketone with a pentose, then it is called as ketopentose. Like that we can consider. Similarly, so with aldehyde and with 6 carbon atom, it is called as aldohexose. If it is with ketone and 6 carbon atoms, then it is called as ketohexose. Just to give the example, I am mentioning two, a special classification. One is aldohexose. Aldehyde as a functional group and 6 carbon atoms in it. The example is, you can consider glucose. Ketohexose. So ketone as a functional group and 6 carbon atoms in it, so which is called as ketohexose. Example is fructose. So this in detail when we are learning with the structure will also mention. So this is by relating the functional group as well as based on number of carbon atoms. Now we'll go for the oligosaccharides based on their hydrolysis units. So they are classified. Now if we take with 2 monosaccharide units if they are obtained on hydrolysis. If a particular oligosaccharide produces 2 monosaccharide units, so then it is called as disaccharides, which are with very important we have in the syllabus to learn in detail about all the disaccharides. So if they produces 3 monosaccharides, then they are called as trisaccharides. If the respective oligosaccharides produces 4, then it is called as tetrasaccharides. So like this, you have many classification till decasaccharides. Again, the detailed classification is beyond the scope. So you can concentrate only disaccharide. So this you can concentrate for competitive exam. So we'll take a simple example to relate. Now the disaccharides, we have 3 to learn in the syllabus. All the 3 will mention. One is milk sugar, that is lactose, malt sugar, maltose, then invert sugar or cane sugar, which is sucrose. So these are the 3 important disaccharides we have in the syllabus. So trisaccharide, tetrasaccharide, it is not there, just for competitive point of view. So one of the example for trisaccharide is raffinose. It is additional information. If you want, you can relate it for competitive exam. So for tetrasaccharide, it is tachyose. This is additional. So if you want, you can learn. So you can skip this. So only important thing required for exam to concentrate is disaccharides, that we'll learn in detail. So disaccharides are those which produces 2 monosaccharides upon hydrolysis. Tri, tetra, so based on the respective monosaccharide units obtained on hydrolysis, so their names will be considered. Now we'll move on to the last one. So it is polysaccharides, so which will produces many monosaccharide units. So such polysaccharides are classified into homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. So it's very simple information. If a polysaccharide made up of the same sugar units, here sugar unit refers to monosaccharide unit. If they are made up of different monosaccharide units, then it is called as heteropolysaccharides. So we have again a simple examples here. We will try to learn the simple homopolysaccharide examples. Again, all these we have in the syllabus to learn. It is about starch, a reserved homopolysaccharide in plants, glycogen, a reserved homopolysaccharide present in animals, cellulose, a structural homopolysaccharide present in plant cell wall. All these three we have in the syllabus to learn. So heteropolysaccharides we do not have in the syllabus, but you can recall what you have learned with first UC biology. It is chitin, which is present in the exoskeleton of the insects. Hyaluronic acid, like that there are different examples about that. Just to relate in the classification you can observe. Now this is in detail about the classification. So each classification you expand what it is and with example you try to explain. So some more details with one more classification, that is reducing sugars and non-reducing sugars. We'll try to concentrate in our next class. So this will be the most important. You can expect a 1 mark and 2 mark question for the board exam, as well as the classification will be a very most oftenly expected topic for competitive exam also. Hence focus this very clearly. Thank you. We'll continue in the next class.